Hello everybody, today I'm coming to you from my living room. Even though it's May, it is snowing outside and it is too cold to film in my room, so here we are. I just finished a book called Cinderella Ate My Daughter by Peggy Orenstein, and it is a nonfiction book and it just talks about how damaging the new girly girl culture, so the pink, the playing princess, all that stuff, just how damaging it is to young girls. I originally picked this out because last year I read a book called The Narcissism Epidemic. For the life of me, I cannot remember who wrote it. I will look it up and link it somewhere below, figure out how to do that. I'm not exactly tech savvy, but, and it was just about how self-centered the millennials, my generation, are becoming with Facebook and the internet and all that stuff. And then the author recommended this book as kind of a follow-up or, a good thing to read next if you're interested. And I finally got around to reading it a whole year later. You know how you have your never-ending list of books to read? This was on the list, and I was just working my way down. So, Cinderella Ate My Daughter. It's just, the author talks about how dangerous, early sexualization is to young women, and how placing so much value on their looks instead of their brains, and it's just, she just says it's just this completely archaic way of thinking, right? And I was never really a girly girl as a child. I definitely preferred Lego to Barbies, but I guess this is why I find this book so interesting, because I was never one of these kids. I was never a, hey, pink and all that stuff and blah, 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 and, so I found it interesting because eventually, no time soon, but in the future, eventually, most likely I will reproduce and pop out a baby or off, of myself, and these are the kind of things that I'm going to wonder about, and how do we, raise your daughters to have self-worth when the media and pop culture places values on their looks. Even the author talks about that Dove Real Beauty campaign, how the girls they put in those are still very slender and attractive and, just because they're not anorexic supermodels, but they're still very beautiful. And she just talks about how difficult it is to navigate that world and how there's really no right answer. Because usually at the end of nonfiction books like this, the author will sum things up and be like, well, for example, in Narcissism Epidemic, the author ended it by saying, well, just make sure, you're cutting back, you're making sure, you're keeping yourself aware of, what you're posting online. But the author at the end of this, she said, quite frankly, I have no idea. She said, because it's become such a powerful force, this whole idea of princess and pink and girly and soft, And she says she has no idea how to combat it. And there really is no right answer. And she says that's the most terrifying part. It's just, how do you raise your kids to have self-worth in such a shallow world? And I thought it was very interesting, and I'm sure many people will disagree with this author. Girls who did grow up playing princess, a couple of my close friends are very much girly girls to this day. But, they're not damaged or have self-esteem issues or anything like that. So it's a very interesting paradox. The whole princess, it seems so shallow and so vapid, but is it really that harmful? Or is it? We don't know. And that's why I thought this was interesting and compelling, because I just, you want to keep asking more questions. You want to keep learning, because, as she said, there's really no right answer. So, Cinderella Ate My Daughter, an excellent nonfiction book. I would highly recommend it. I don't know, if you're not into nonfiction, I'd say this is probably a pretty good place to start, because the way the author writes, she writes it, it's not like and then the study that was published by the University of blah, 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 to determine these statistics. She has statistics in it, but she presents the information in a way that's interesting and you want to keep reading. You don't just get bored and completely check out. So, Cinderella Ate My Daughter. Excellent book about a very very alarming topic. So, hope you guys are all having excellent weekends, and I hope wherever you are, it is not snowing, because this is quite frankly just ridiculous. I'm looking out the window in case you're wondering what I'm looking at, and I'm like, ugh, why? Anyways, bye!